Hello, fellow plant lovers. I'm Annie the Anthurium, and today I'm thrilled to show you how we can propagate these beautiful anthurium plants together. The anthurium, with its stunning heart-shaped flowers and vibrant green leaves, is an absolute joy to grow and care for. And the best part? It's one of the easiest plants to propagate, which means you can multiply this beauty in your own home or garden. Now, you may be asking, what is plant propagation? It's simply the process of creating new plants from existing ones. This can be done through seeds, cuttings, division, and even tissue culture in some advanced cases. Today, we'll focus on the method of stem cuttings, a straightforward and common technique that works wonderfully for our lovely anthuriums. So what's the magic behind this process? Well, many plants, including the anthurium, have special cells at their leaf nodes, the places where leaves attach to the stem. These cells have the amazing ability to develop into either roots or shoots depending on their environment. By taking a cutting and placing it in water or soil, we can encourage these cells to produce new roots. And voila, you're on your way to growing a new plant. Now, before we jump in, it's important to note that propagation isn't just about creating more plants. It's also a wonderful way to connect with nature, to understand and appreciate the incredible life processes happening right under our noses. Each new root, each new leaf is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of life. It's a process that is as rewarding as it is fascinating. So, are you excited? Are you ready to dive into the world of plant propagation? Let's get started. Here we have a perfect candidate for propagation. Dive with me into the heart of this lush anthurium plant, where we'll find a healthy stem ripe for the picking. When selecting your stem, aim for one that's robust, vibrant, and showing no signs of disease or damage. This will ensure that our cutting has the best chance of thriving and establishing new roots. Once you've found your perfect stem, it's time to make your move. With a sterilized gardening tool, cleanliness is key here to prevent any potential disease transmission. We're going to make a clean cut just below a leaf node. Why below a leaf node, you ask? Well, these nodes are the magic spots where new roots will sprout from, giving life to our new anthurium plant. Now let's make sure this cut is as clean as a whistle. A jagged or torn cut could harm the plant and hinder its ability to establish new roots. So take your time and aim for a swift, clean slice, just like a hot knife through butter. There's no rush here. Patience is a gardener's best friend after all. Once you've made your cut, hold your stem up to the light and admire your handiwork. There's something quite special about this moment, isn't there? It's as if you're holding a tiny spark of life in your hands, ready to burst into a beautiful flame. But before we get ahead of ourselves, there's still a bit of preparation to do. Great job! Now that we have our cutting, let's prepare it for rooting. We'll start by removing any lower leaves, as these could rot underwater and spell disaster for our new plant. Don't worry about the stem being bare. The remaining leaves will continue to photosynthesize and provide energy for our cutting as it begins to establish roots. In our next scene, we'll dive into the process of preparing and placing the cutting in water. But for now, take a moment to appreciate the simple beauty of your freshly cut stem. You're well on your way to propagating your very own anthurium plant. Remove any lower leaves to prevent them from rotting underwater. This is an essential step in preparing your anthurium cutting for propagation. You see, our goal here is to create the most conducive environment for this little plant piece to sprout roots and grow into a flourishing anthurium. And one way to do this is by minimizing any potential for decay or disease. Now, as you're removing these lower leaves, it's important to do so gently. We don't want to cause any unnecessary damage to the stem. So take your time and carefully pluck or cut away any foliage that will end up submerged in the water. But before you get scissor happy and start trimming away all the leaves, hold on. We're not going for a bare stem here. It's crucial to leave a few leaves at the top of your cutting. You might wonder why we're keeping these leaves around, especially when we've just talked about reducing potential decay. Well, it all comes down to photosynthesis, that amazing process plants use to turn sunlight into energy. Even as our cutting is busy developing roots, it needs to continue photosynthesizing to sustain itself. The remaining leaves will act as little solar panels, soaking up sunlight and converting it into the energy that our cutting needs to establish roots and grow. So, while the lower leaves could potentially rot and harm our cutting, the ones at the top will play a pivotal role in its survival and growth. It's all about that balance. Remember, every leaf you leave on is a commitment to provide light for photosynthesis. So ensure your cutting has a spot where it will get plenty of indirect sunlight to keep those remaining leaves working their photosynthetic magic. And there you have it, your anthurium cutting, stripped of its lower leaves and ready to take on the world, or at least a container of water. These remaining leaves will continue to photosynthesize and provide energy for our cutting as it establishes roots. So keep an eye on those leaves, and here's to a successful propagation journey. Now we'll place our cutting in this container of water, making sure the submerged nodes are fully immersed. It's vital to the success of our propagation that the cut nodes have direct contact with the water. These nodes, which were once responsible for leaf growth, will now become the birthplace of our new roots. As we carefully position our cutting in the water, we're setting the stage for life to flourish. It's a bit like sending a sailor out to sea. We've prepared them as best we can, and now it's up to them to navigate the waters. Once our cutting is comfortably situated, you'll want to ensure that it remains upright. This might require a bit of finesse. You could use a small stick or even a piece of wire to help keep it in place. Be gentle though, we don't want to cause any unnecessary stress to our little green friend. Now, here's a secret weapon in our plant propagation arsenal: rooting hormone. This magical elixir can significantly increase our chances of success. It's like giving our sailor a compass and a map. The hormone stimulates root growth by signaling to the plant that it's time to grow roots. Just a few drops in our water can make a world of difference. But remember, while rooting hormone can be a game changer, it's not a guarantee. Plant propagation is a bit of a waiting game. It requires patience, care, and a little bit of luck. But the reward of seeing those first tiny roots appear is well worth the wait. Also, don't forget to change the water every few days. Fresh water keeps our cutting healthy and helps prevent the growth of bacteria or algae that could hinder our propagation efforts. So there we have it. Our anthurium cutting is now set for its journey to becoming a fully fledged plant. It's a beautiful process, isn't it? The potential for new life held within a single cutting, now poised to become a thing of beauty in its own right. This rooting hormone will help stimulate root growth and increase our chances of success. So let's wait, watch, and wish our little cutting all the best on its journey to becoming a new plant. Happy propagating. And there you have it, folks. Our anthurium cutting is now ready to begin its journey to becoming a beautiful, thriving plant. We've taken a healthy stem from a mature anthurium, made a clean cut just below a leaf node, and prepared it for rooting by removing lower leaves. We've then placed the cutting in a container of water, ensuring the submerged nodes are fully immersed. To give our cutting a head start, we've added a few drops of rooting hormone to stimulate growth. Now, as we wrap up, let's remember that this is only the beginning of the journey for our anthurium cutting. To ensure success, we must commit to a couple of important follow-up steps. The first is to change the water in the container every few days. Fresh water will prevent the buildup of bacteria and fungi that could harm the developing roots. The second step is to keep a close eye on our cutting. We should be looking for signs of root growth, which could take anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks, depending on the conditions. Seeing new roots sprouting from those submerged nodes will be a sure sign that our anthurium cutting is well on its way. And what do we do when we see those roots? We celebrate, of course, but we also start planning for the next phase, which is transferring the rooted cutting to soil. But don't worry, we'll cover that in another video. So there you go, plant enthusiasts. We've unlocked the secret to anthurium propagation, and it's now in your hands to bring more of these vibrant tropical beauties to life. Remember, patience is key, and every new root is a victory. Happy propagating, and may your gardens be filled with joy and abundance. Until next time.